And that is not the type of child that you want to raise. It's a form of love for your children. I do not want my children to learn about sex. If you don't enjoy your children, then that's really a reflection on your parenting style. It's one thing to say sorry and I forgive you, but you know if that apology is real, you know if they don't accept a hug afterward. The best person in the world who is more than capable to teach your children is Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This morning I wanted to talk about unpopular parenting opinions that I agree with. So if you like a bit of controversy or if you enjoy hearing other people's opinions and learning more about how people think, then continue watching and consider subscribing if you enjoy this video. I'm basically going to be chatting to you guys as if you came over to my house and were having a coffee with me. So grab a coffee. So if you don't know, my name's Marissa. Hello, if this is your first time watching. I am a mum of 5. My eldest is 9 next month, and my other 4 are 4 years old and under. So I have 3 boys and 2 girls. I'm also a Christian, so I do have a Christian worldview. But when it comes to political things and other things that are more personal with opinions, I find that a lot of the beliefs I have, especially surrounding parenting, are quite different to everyone that I know. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was this idea that we have to put our children first when it comes to being a mother. And here's why I don't agree with that and why I believe you should actually put your husband first through all seasons of motherhood and parenting. You are a mother for a short period of time. And I'm not meaning like suddenly you're not a mother. Of course you are a mother as soon as you have children for the rest of your life. What I mean is the parenting phase, being an active mother as in raising your children, is only for 18-20 years, or I'm assuming until your child moves out of home or they get married and move in with their spouse. That may seem like a lot of time, but when you put your entire life into perspective, it's very short compared to the amount of time you are going to be spending with your husband or with your wife if you're watching this, if you're a man. Your marriage lasts a lifetime, or at least it's meant to. And one of the biggest issues with divorce is that once children grow up and they move out of the home, they realize that they have nothing in common with their partner anymore, because they have been so focused on their children all those years and they neglected their relationship with their spouse. Maybe not neglected, but they didn't prioritize it as important as raising their children. I live on the Gold Coast in Australia, and I know that so many mums on the Facebook groups that I am a part of are always complaining about they're wanting to leave their husbands, there's nothing in common with them anymore. Like, there's no biblical or justifiable reason, in my opinion, for them to actually leave. It's simply the fact that they feel like they don't know them anymore. And it's so wrong. Like, we as humans are always going to be growing and changing. Whether you're in a relationship or not, in 20 years' time, of course you're not going to be the same person that you were 20 years ago when you first got married or before you had kids. Everyone is always growing, and that's a positive thing. Humans are meant to grow and find new interests and discover who they are, discover what their purpose is in life. And when you put your focus on your children, it's so easy to neglect your spouse and look at them as a burden, and you start thinking about why aren't they helping me with the kids? Why aren't they helping out at home? It's so easy to fall into this victim mindset and continuously pointing out and pondering upon all the ways that your husband is failing you instead of all the good that he does. The biggest gift you can give your child is to show them what a good marriage looks like. Because like I said, marriage is for a lifetime, and your children, once they leave home, they are wanting to find a partner for their lifetime as well. If they have not had role models who showed them what it means and what it looks like to have a positive, loving, respectful relationship with their spouse, who set boundaries up with their children and with other people in order to have a healthy, strong, fulfilling marriage, if they don't see that through their childhood, then they are likely going to split up with their spouses in the future as well, because it's very hard to learn something that you didn't learn as a child. We are very moldable as children. They are very teachable and they pick up on everything. And the biggest thing you can do for them to help with that is to show them what it looks like. Give an example. It's kind of like the saying of, do what I say but not what I do. Switch that saying around, and that's how children work. It doesn't matter what you tell them. They in their minds are going to think, okay, well, mommy says this, but I see her doing something differently. So the best way to influence your children and to give them the best gift of having a happy, fulfilling life, which is what most mothers want, or all mothers want for their children, if you want them to have that happy, fulfilling life of giving and receiving unconditional love, then you have to be that example for them within your household with your spouse. And that's why with me and my husband, we have no problem with putting the kids to sleep or setting them up with some sort of activity and telling them, listen, mommy and daddy are about to spend some time together. You guys need to entertain yourselves because we need to spend time together. And yes, they still interrupt, they have trouble respecting those boundaries, but you just need to be firm and continuously remind them that mommy and daddy are having personal time right now. You need to respect that boundary. And honestly, like over time, they do get better with it. My kids are very young, so they don't do it perfectly. But if you set those boundaries up at a young age, then as they grow, they will learn to respect that even more. And they will be able to have better personal relationships as well. The way that we look at things, because we are Christian, is our relationship with God, it comes first. Secondly, our marriage is most important, then comes our children after our marriage, and then other things such as work and our health follow on after our kids. Also, before I talk about the next point, let me know in the comments what you agree with and what you may not agree with as I go through this video, because I love hearing other people's perspectives on things. I think that we should always have a growth mindset and always accept other people's beliefs and opinions. Not to say you need to take it on as your own, but I think there is always room for growth and learning, and it doesn't matter who you are hearing things from, you can always learn new things from other people. Another huge issue that I feel like the left especially encourages and supports is not indoctrinating your children. The reason why I don't agree with that is because whether we want to or like it or not, our children are going to be influenced and are going to form the way they view the world, so their worldview anyway. So the way I think of it is, you can either focus on bringing up your children and teaching them the values and characteristics that you as a parent would like them to have and that you think is correct and right and moral, or you can say that I don't believe in indoctrinating my children. I believe that they should form their own opinions. That's fine, but if you are not the person to influence them on how they think and what they believe, just know that other people are going to do that for you. When your kids go to school, their friends are going to form the way that they view things. Their teachers, their friends' parents, other people, even things that they are watching on YouTube and through their shows and listening to music, all of those things, all of their experiences through their childhood are going to form and make up their character and their personality once they are older. And ask yourself, do you really want that? Do you really want your child to be going through life with no guidance in what their own parents believe is right and wrong? Because I know for me, that really scares me. That's why I want to homeschool, and that's actually my next point. It is so controversial for Christians especially to want to homeschool their kids. Somehow there is this belief out there that a lot of mothers have, and even fathers as well, that they are not qualified to raise their children. Now, I'm not saying that those who have to work and can't homeschool, that's a bad thing. I'm not saying any of that is wrong or that I don't think you should do that. I'm simply saying that I believe that children learn best in a safe, welcoming environment, and I think the best person in the world who is more than capable to teach your children is you. You know their personality, you know what they can handle, you know what they really struggle with, you know their interests, and of all people in this world, you are the one who wants to see them grow and become the best they can be and accomplish all that they are capable of. I also feel like when children go to public school and even private school, the ratio of teacher to children is ridiculously high, like 1 to 20 and sometimes even 1 teacher to 30 kids. It's not a suitable system for a child to learn. If you think about it, public school kids sometimes get tutoring when they struggle with certain subjects in school. When you are homeschooling them, it's kind of like your child has a personal tutor in all areas of their learning and their education, because you are directly teaching them one-on-one. So not only is their learning time like completely cut down to a more suitable level for the child, but they're also able to think more maturely in the way that they are around an adult throughout the entire day. When you are in a school system, your child is raised by other children. They're spending so much of their day and so much of their life through the school age surrounded by kids who are their age. And this is something that I believe, maybe you don't, but children are inherently foolish. They don't have the wisdom and the moral character yet, because that is what they are forming. That is what childhood is. They don't have the moral character to teach other children around them. Yet we all know that we are the concoction of the 5 closest people that we spend the most time with. I think that homeschooling is the best way to go, especially in this new age. If you are a Christian, like the things that are coming out in schools right now, the laws that are being passed and what they can teach children and how young they can teach those children those inappropriate things, is just mind-boggling to me. I do not want my children to learn about sex at the age of 6. I think that is just ridiculously young. It's so inappropriate and unnecessary. I think, of course, children should not be naive, and as parents, we have the role to teach them and make sure that they are fully equipped and aware of what the real world looks like. My camera overheated. But we're back, and my daughter is in the room. If you do hear her, that's why there's noise. But a bit of a segue from the homeschooling's opinion. Like I said, I am going to homeschool my children, and I can't wait. I am so excited. Something that makes me really sad is hearing how mums don't think they can handle spending all day with their kids. I understand that, but I just think it's so sad. Like, in reality, if you don't enjoy your children, then that's really a reflection on your parenting style, and maybe you need to spend a bit more time with them to form them and mold them into more enjoyable people to be around. Because if you, their own parent, their own mother, does not necessarily enjoy being with them for long periods of time, then will other people enjoy being around them? You know, just something to think about. Another reason why I want to homeschool is because I love being at home and living slow. My husband and I dream of living on land, of living a slow-paced life with my veggie garden and my sheep and my cows. That is the kind of lifestyle that I ultimately want my kids to be raised in. Personally, don't like being super busy. These mums who go to work and then straight after work they're rushing the kids to their sports games and then they come home, have dinner, and the kids go to sleep. In my mind, if I was to live like that, it would make me so sad because I feel like I would never have quality time with my children. I believe that we were made to live slow as human beings. We are meant to be outside. We are meant to have the sun on our face. We are meant to get our hands dirty. I believe that that is honestly the best way to finding fulfillment in the way we were made to be as human beings. And so that is the lifestyle that I want for my children. Keeping them busy with sports and all these extracurricular activities just does not entice me. I know that a lot of parents give advice out there with kids who start rebelling, especially in their teenage years. A lot of their advice is to keep them busy so that they technically don't have time to get up to no good. And while I will say there is wisdom in that, I myself was a very rebellious teenager because I had nothing else to do. But I don't think that really fixes the root cause, which is their character. I think that being around your children as much as you can, exposing your children to different lifestyles and to different ages will also help grow their maturity. And just living a slow-paced life and finding fulfillment and being content with whatever you have at all seasons of life, I feel like that is the best way to raise my children and to really form gratitude and appreciation within them. On the subject of children, I do want to talk about training your children and discipline. Again, for whatever reason, the word discipline itself has, over the last few decades, gained a really bad rep. And I understand, like, the definition of discipline is to train a person using punishment. I don't necessarily see punishment as a bad thing. If you look out in the real world, if you do not obey the laws of the land, then you are punished. You either go to prison, you do jail time, you need to pay fines. They are all forms of punishment, and they are what keeps society in check. It's motivation for humans to not exceed the boundaries that the law has put in place to keep society safe and functioning. But then when it comes to our home and our children, people don't want that anymore. And I think that this is where we have gone wrong as a people. I think that the generations before us, they were very strict on discipline, but they weren't very good at relationship. And I think that you need to have a good balance of both. For the people that I find were disciplined as children and they don't have very good relationships with their parents, they now do not discipline their children at all because they are so triggered by it because of the way they were disciplined themselves. They're doing the children disservice because children need boundaries, and when they don't adhere to those boundaries within the home, there needs to be a consequence. Whatever that consequence is up to the parent, but there needs to be a consequence to teach them and to train them to behave a certain way. Now, all feelings are valid. I agree with that. I stand by that 100%. Our feelings are valid at all ages, at all times. However, the way you behave from those feelings matters. And the way you behave, there is appropriate levels of behavior and there is not. And if you have children, which if you're watching this video, I'm assuming you do, you know that children, especially toddlers, act out in a way that is inappropriate to the certain situation. We always validate the emotion and we try to figure out why exactly they are upset or why they are behaving in a manner that we do not think is appropriate. So we'll always get down on their level, ask them, try to figure out the situation. What's wrong, honey? Did you need something? Obviously, ask yourself, are they hungry? Do they have a dirty nappy? Are they tired? Those three needs need to be addressed first, and they will likely help the child calm down. But if they have been addressed and it's something else that the child is upset about, then trying to figure out and understand and form compassion for them in that instance is so important, and that is what we do. Once we have figured that out, we will then warn the child that it is okay to feel that way. I understand why you feel that way, and that's fine. But the way you have been behaving and the way you have been acting in response to that emotion is not okay. And here are ways that we can help regulate your emotions in the future. But if you behave this way again, there will be a consequence. And whatever that consequence is, like I said, you decide what it is. As long as you stick to that routine and you always fulfill your word, your child will learn very, very quickly how to behave when they are feeling big emotions. We agree and stand by the fact that if you are in an emotional state, if you are reacting and disciplining your child because they have formed emotions within you, I don't believe that it will go well, because you are not being patient and kind in that instance. Discipline is out of love for your child. It's out of wanting to teach them to become a pleasant person so that other people will enjoy being around them. That's how society works. You need to train your child. When you don't train your child and when you don't set up boundaries, and when you do set up boundaries but you don't stick by them, that is where your children start being rebellious, they start misbehaving, they will continue their tantrums. If a child throws a tantrum and you go down to them and give them what they want in that moment, they have now learned that if they throw a tantrum, they will get what they want. And that is not the type of child that you want to raise. You want to raise a child who is able to regulate their emotions, who is able to use their thinking abilities to problem solve a lot of things. And this can start at such a young age. Of course, give them grace when they struggle, talk them through it, help them through those things. But discipline is not a bad thing. It's a form of love for your children. It's teaching your children. Disciplining your children can be a gift to them. It can be a positive thing. It depends on how you do that, and if you maintain that closeness with them, if you maintain empathy and compassion and only use it as a device to train them as opposed to as a device to take out your emotions, your negative emotions on them, that is where I believe many people fail. We all have the free choice and the God-given right to choose what we believe is best for our children. So of course, do what you believe is the best pathway for you and your kids. But the way that we do things in our home works very, very well. And the last thing I wanted to talk about with unpopular opinions that I agree with is arguing with your spouse in front of your children. Now, of course, quick disclaimer, I'm not talking about abusive physical fights, abusive language, emotional abuse. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm meaning disagreements. I believe that children should witness that, and here's why. I was raised in a home where I never saw my parents argue. I was very safeguarded and protected because my parents believe that kids should not get involved in that kind of stuff, and I agree with that to an extent. I agree that children should not be pulled into your relationship drama. However, because I never witnessed them argue, once I got married, I had no idea how to communicate with my spouse when there was conflict. I was passive aggressive and I didn't even know I was. I would sweep things under the rug and I would say that I didn't care. But I did care, and that showed in the form of resentment and bitterness. And of course your husband is going to pick up on that, but your children also pick up on those things. The way that we do things now, I believe that you should argue with your spouse in front of your children, as long as you also make up with your spouse in front of your children so that they can witness and see how conflict happens and is resolved within a healthy marriage. My kids have seen both me and my husband come to each other and openly apologize for the way we behaved or for offending the other person or whatever the case was. They have witnessed us apologize and ask for forgiveness in front of them, even though 5-10 minutes ago they just witnessed us having a go at the other person. They pick up on those things and they will respect you because they will see that conflict never goes away. We are fallen human beings. We are always going to have fights and arguments with other people, especially our spouse. But when our kids can see that and consider it as normal, then we are setting them up to expect that within marriage, which it will happen. But we are also teaching them humility and the ability to self-reflect and admit that you are wrong. I could not admit that I was wrong with anything. It was always like, well, I might have been wrong, but the way I behaved wasn't wrong, which is not true. And I can proudly say that my husband and I both are able to come up to each other after an argument and apologize for the way we behaved and what we said, and our kids witness it. And they now do that to us too. Our kids by themselves, if we send them to their room to cool down, they will come out of their room and come and say, I'm sorry, mommy. I'm sorry, daddy. They say that themselves. We don't ask them to anymore. We used to in the beginning. We used to guide that. Anytime our kids would fight, we would ask what's wrong. We would get them both to apologize to each other for the part that they played in that argument. And then we would make them hug and make up. Yes, sometimes there is resistance, especially with my 3-year-old girl. There is resistance. But we never let them walk away from each other without forgiving and making physical contact, because it's one thing to say sorry and I forgive you, but you know if that apology is real, you know if they don't accept a hug afterwards, because I do that to my husband. We have done that with our children when they are 1 year old. Even earlier, my son is now 9 months, and if one of our kids hurts him, we make them go to him and apologize. He can't even understand them. They will apologize and give him a cuddle. And now they do it to each other. I have witnessed my kids, they didn't even know I was listening in. I've witnessed my 3 and 4-year-old have a bit of a dispute. And then my son explained to my daughter what she did wrong. And she sat there with this look on her face thinking about it. And she goes, I'm sorry, Myers. I'm sorry. And he goes, that's okay, Papa. And then they just went off and started playing. It was the cutest thing ever, and I'm going to pat myself on the back for that, because I do believe that the way that we openly show our children our conflict and resolve it, I believe that that has influenced them alongside us guiding them with their own arguments. I believe that has really shown them and taught them how to resolve conflict within themselves and their own relationships, and how to apologize and accept apologies as well, and be able to move on and move forward with their relationships. So that's all of the things that I have to talk about today. I have really enjoyed myself. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know I always post so many controversial topics, and whatever topic I'm talking about, I happily share my opinion on things. I will say that I have gotten a few, not many, but a few nasty comments from people that were completely disrespectful and spoke to me inappropriately, and I just messaged them and said, I think it's very sad and disappointing that you feel justified in speaking to me that way just because I don't agree with you. And then I just leave it at that and wish them the best. And so, guys, if you disagree with something I said or with everything, let me know, because I'm completely okay with that. But if you agree with anything I've said, or if I have made you think about a certain topic, let me know again in the comments and let's chat, because I love talking about these things. Me and my husband spend all day, all night just chatting about all the things, all the controversial things that we believe and we stand by, and it makes life that much more interesting. So thanks so much for watching. Again, subscribe if you enjoyed this video, like this video, share it. I love making videos around motherhood to help you navigate your way through everyday life with more peace, joy, and satisfaction. So subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.